In this lecture, we will look at the state of reading in our nation. We will examine national data, including NAEP data, and understand why many call what we are experiencing a reading crisis. In Chapter 10, How Well Does America Read?, Seidenberg outlines the international PISA data and the national NAEP data, showing that American children are not reading well. He provides a rich discussion about the reaction, controversy, and opinions to this data that are important to understand. He makes a case for a focus on improving reading achievement by focusing on reading instruction. I want to further discuss why this is so important. But first, I want to spend some time exploring the NAEP data and get you set up for examining NAEP data for your own state and beyond. This slide shows the NAEP data for 2019, looking at the numbers of children scoring below the basic level. It demonstrates alarming numbers. The 2019 National Assessment of Educational Progress, or the NAEP, showed that overall 34% of the nation's fourth graders performed below the basic levels. Then when you look at different groups, you see significant gaps. 52% of Black fourth graders are below the basic level, 45% of Hispanic children. When looking at poverty, as measured by children who qualify for free and reduced lunch, we see an alarming 47% of children who qualify for free and reduced lunch are below the basic level. The NAEP has two criteria levels that it looks at. Proficiency, we really want all children to be proficient. This is the ability to do academic work. And then the lower level, basic. The basic level is often talked about as reading well enough to function in society. Read a ballot to be able to vote in an election. Basic needs of our democracy. Far, far too many children are performing below even a basic level of reading proficiency. If you are not familiar with the nation's report card and the NAEP assessment, it is important to know about. It is managed by the National Center for Educational Statistics, the U.S. Department of Education. Information about the NAEP, including state-specific data, can be found on their website. Reading data is collected every other year on students in grades 4, 8, and 12. Sampling procedures are used that match the nation's census data, and every state participates, but not every child participates. It is a sampling procedure. NAEP data has been, sadly, fairly stable since its first administration in 1971. This graph shows fourth grade NAEP reading data across the years it was administered. Only slight increase in scaled scores can be observed. Certainly nothing dramatic. The NAEP website is a wonderful tool to explore the NAEP assessment results for any state in the nation. In the next activity, you will be asked to look up information about your state. Go to this website and click on State Profiles, and then click on Try It Now. When you do this, you will then see this page. Simply scroll down and you will find an interactive map of the United States. Choose your state and you will have the option to download a snapshot report in the different areas, reading and mathematics across the different grades and years. A one-page snapshot report will appear. This is full of information. Look at the results for your state in reading at 4th grade and 8th grade in 2019. What do you notice? You may want to print these one-page reports out to help you with the next activity on Blackboard. I would also like you to take a look at rankings of states. How are states doing overall? Who is doing best, worst? Where does your state fall in the mix? If you go back to the state profile page where the map is, choose 4th grade reading, click on At or Below right here. So you will choose 4th grade reading at or below. You will need to view this section to answer a few of the questions in the activity. This table will come up, and when you get to this table, note which state is doing best, worst, and where your state falls. This is the information you'll need for the activity. Feel free to play around on the NAEP site. It is very interesting. Looking back at the national data, we see large gaps between different racial ethnicity groups and between children on free and reduced lunch and those who are not. These data should be alarming to all who care about social justice. There are many injustices that our nation's children face, not by choice or anything that they have done, simply by the circumstance of their birth. These are the risk factors that can make life more challenging and access to success less likely. However, there are also powerful protective factors that can provide a path to success even with multiple risk factors. Education in general is a powerful protective factor, and the ability to read specifically is one of the most powerful protective factors. In Chapter 1 of our text for this class, Seidenberg talks about the power of education on reading achievement. Getting robust reading instruction is a powerful factor in reading achievement, a factor that has direct, lasting effects on who reads and how well: education. He goes on to say, with some exceptions, children learn to read in school. The only certain way to obviate low literacy is prevention, successfully teaching children to read in the first place. He goes on to discuss the profound disconnect between the science of reading and educational practice. The NAEP data clearly make the case that there is no choice but to focus on improving reading in our nation. That is why we all are here, of course. Strong reading skills does not get rid of all the other challenges in children's lives, but it is a powerful protective factor and one we know how to change. In fact, you can look at almost any negative life outcome, and low reading skills are a powerful, likely predictor of that outcome. See the citation above. I view reading as a keystone behavior. The idea of a keystone behavior comes from behavioral psychology. In architecture, think building arches and bridges. The keystone of the arch is the top stone that holds the two sides up. If that stone was removed, many or even all of the other stones would fall. In development, reading is a keystone, a behavior that impacts all other academic and cognitive behaviors, and even social and emotional behaviors. The key job of school is to make sure all children learn to read well. For our most vulnerable children, this is a key priority. It has to be. This quote was in a recent presentation by Dr. Steve Dykstra. Dr. Dykstra is a psychologist who works with children experiencing trauma. He is also very involved in spreading the science of reading. He came to reading through his work with children experiencing trauma. This is a powerful quote that I would like to end with. Don Meichenbaum, one of the world's leading experts on trauma and violence, said one thing is more important to traumatized children than anything else. More important than therapy, more important than social programs, more important than anything else. The research shows that the single most powerful predictor of their ability to overcome the trauma and survive their circumstances is the ability to read. If they can read, they have a chance to find success in school and overcome all those terrible things in their lives. If they can't, school will only be another source of pain and failure added to all the other sources of pain and failure. If they can read, they can benefit from therapy and everything else we may try to do for them. If they can't read, all of that is a waste of time.